Welcome to From the Left with Stephen Leon. My name is Stephen Leon, and I'm running for the House of Representatives here in Virginia's 8th Congressional District. Thank you to the GCD Network for hosting the show. And tonight, I just want to throw that out there one more time of my write-in candidacy and the experiences quickly and what I learned from that. And what I should have done is gone door to door, start as early as possible. It's at least for the House of Representatives here in Virginia. It's probably like this everywhere else. January 1st of the election year, get signatures, go door to door, and then incrementally submit those signatures for validation, as opposed to what I did waiting till April. Hired a bunch of people off Craigslist, and I submitted 1,086 to have them come back and say, by the deadline I did this, and to have an undated letter state that only 599 of these signatures were qualified. And I don't know if they use a automation, some kind of machine, or if they're hand counted or whatever like that. But over the phone, I talked to them the day before, they were like 633. And in this undated letter, there's no instructions on how to appeal or anything like that. So I'm gonna give that a shot, see another long shot to see. So yeah, and I'm sure the canvassers, I could spend some extra money to find out which of my canvassers didn't ask. That the signers were in fact registered voters of this 8th district. And when you hit them at farmers markets like that, they may not know, or canvassers may just have taken advantage of the situation and provided some bonuses per signature after a certain number and things like that. So yeah. So I mean, when you just it sucks, from all the effort that I put in, and you go in there and you look on Wikipedia, or I'm sorry, Ballotpedia, and anywhere else, you'll just see that I'm a disqualified or withdrawn candidate. And you don't see that backstory. Well, come election day, or if you get the mail-in ballot, if you wait, I know I've done this before with local stuff, you wait until election day, and just when you're at the booth, Google the name, whoever it is, and whatever you feel. Here in Arlington, like pretty much, we're so left that everyone's ideals are pretty much coinciding with one another. And you're just, what are you picking? Are you picking the something superficial, like whether you know the name or not, like color skin or something, their websites, endorsements? And as far as I know today, like just the way that things, I mean, I don't even know how much an endorsement's really worth, the way that people just blindly go into the way this is all jacked up, the way politics are, it's just a mess. 2.5 years I've spent of my time trying to get momentum. And that's one of the reasons why I started in April, is that hopefully I would have gotten some donations and been able to hire canvassers to help. But once I had April, I was like, I got to start doing this myself. So yeah. But I don't want to talk. I don't want to make it about that. It's still a long shot to be written in. I could circulate some more videos and things like that for the chance, but some people very well may just see that the fact that I didn't qualify for the ballot would mean, what would that mean for my candidacy? That, I'm self-taught with this, you know what I mean? I learn as I go, and I'm acknowledging that. I'm acknowledging what I could have done better. I've talked to the other candidates. I'm sure they probably did something similar. I know that with Dave Kennedy, he got his signatures in by April, and he probably sent them incrementally. I'm guessing, I didn't ask him that, and then he registered with the FEC. See, I started way before anyone else, even before Don Beyer, the incumbent, had put out his declaration that he was running again, saying that he's going to promise to do his best and all this stuff. And I started back in September. I just knew that that's when I should just kind of bring everything that I've known at that point. But tonight, really, what I'd want to talk about is just what this is a good. The Congress is on recess right now, and before they left us with this HR 7024 tax relief for American families and workers Act of 2024. And I'm going to share my screen, and if you look at this is right off congress.gov, and it passed the House. You look at it right there, right here, to make improvements to the child tax credit, to provide tax incentives, to promote economic growth. Get this, to provide special rules for the taxation of certain residents of Taiwan. I'll say that again, special rules, taxation, certain residents of Taiwan with income from sources within the United States. And if you find out more what that means, you type in Taiwan, 93 times. 93 times that this bill mentions Taiwan. Going through this, what I'm thinking is they're finding ways to try to pay for the Science and Chips Act. If you Google around what's going on with that and how there's delays and everything that's going on with the interconnected markets and see what's going on. Special rules. I mean, that's just everything like what they do with you see with how far anything is passed in the 118th Congress. You see how they alienate us with, let's say, an Inflation Reduction Act doesn't do that. There might be some things in there that would have an impact on inflation over time, but the fact that they just call it that and then this, right? It's not that complicated, just like anything else, once you know how to do it, once you recognize it. The Represent Us nonpartisan organization is a really good place to see where all this is coming from. And right there, special rules, that means lobbyists. That means, looks to me that, again, after you do some research and find the delays with the Science and Chips Act, why are we doing that? I don't remember, I supported Tom Steyer in 2020. I don't remember, excuse me, I don't remember Joe Biden campaigning on that. Abigail Spanberger has, I've always said this, and this is where I've got her, where she is ready to be our governor. And she had called out Biden early on, saying that he's overstepping his mandate. We didn't elect him to be FDR-esque. I mean, sure, maintain the general welfare positions of the left, but make them fiscally responsible. So when you see stuff like this, and guess what? This HR 7024, Marjorie Taylor Greene voted in favor for it. Marjorie Taylor Greene, that's right. She has been so up about not supporting overt government subsidies and things like this, and she voted for it. Do some digging into her capital trades at capitaltrades.com and her stock trades, and you'll see she's got stock in this company that makes the chemicals for processors, microprocessors. So they want to boost the economy in Taiwan and use some of our taxpayers to do it, while some lobbyists and special corporate interest groups and things like that get more rich, and for it not to happen. So they sneak little stuff like this. That is not the narrative. You see what the left will say, it's in the Senate, it didn't pass there, right? And the left is saying that it's because the right doesn't want to help. And then you hear the right saying, well, it's government subsidies. Right there in the middle of this thing. And it's like this with a lot of stuff. It's like this with that is the problem. It's the corporate lobbying, it's the PAC money, and the posing, it's act blue, it's women red, and they come with these ideas that eventually stalemate. And what you ultimately see is the corporations just buying us out and competing with one another while we split the bill. When we got things like climate change or socioeconomic depression, things are going to get worse. Things are going to get way worse when it comes to socioeconomic depression and climate change. Cost of things are going to go up. They are very, very slowly. And again, I go back to Represent Us, and there's a lot of data that's probably the leading nonpartisan organization to end government corruption. From the right, your narrative of government corruption can get skewed and projected to the federal institutions that would hold us all accountable. It's not fair. It's not what the swamp is. And then on the left, you don't hear it. You don't hear that. You don't hear it. I've got the incumbent on record in the House chambers. Just go to his Facebook page. I just happened to stumble upon it with this Medicare for All, and how the fact that he just doesn't call it corruption, that he calls it something else. And you wonder why the right is so pissed off to do legal shit to get our attention, or to why do you think he's getting so much attention? This is really all about compromise. You know what I mean? Like, one of the prime examples, again, that I've been using to balance a compromise is this business with abortion rights and assault weapons. So here we have two groups of people telling each other that what they believe to be constitutional is unlawful, when most firearm-related murders are in red states and most abortions are done within 13 weeks of gestation. And that's at 93%. 93% of abortions are done within the first trimester. So, and then again, so you've got these, abortion doesn't affect you. I know it's none of your business, I mean, I have to, I'm looking at Pew Research articles here and credible sources and things like that. But I'm sure if you were to look at where the most abortions occur, that would be within city. But then you have to look at population and geographics and things like that. And it's not fair for the right to come over and say, we don't think it's righteous or should be legal or whatever it might be, when you don't know what it's like to live in a city. You don't know what it's like, whatever woman's, all the different circumstances that could happen from that. And it's also unfair for the left to go over to the right and say, we don't, by the numbers, we don't think that you should have assault weapons, when most of these are done in rural-esque areas, when it mostly for sport, you know what I mean? So and it just goes on like that. It goes on like that. And if and also rationally, logically, it takes a lot of effort and work to look at what is bullshit and what isn't. And I spent a lot of time trying to figure that out. And, I mean, I can't, I mean, it's good that I can recognize with something with that I'm responsible for when it comes to not making the ballot and what I've learned from that and just not knowing. I hope that would give enough principle for people to recognize that as a legitimate candidacy. I don't know what the stories are of the other people that either disqualified or withdrew or whatever it was. Joe Biden was a write-in in New Hampshire, if that helps, and he did it to manipulate the primary. They didn't want him there, and then at the very end, you know what I mean? Like people just want to. You've got to sum it up. You've got the right not wanting us to go socialist, and they think that Trump's the guy to do that, and then you've got the left pretty much trying to stop that. You know what I mean? And really, these narratives, these ideas, you're just appeasing a very small fraction of the population on opposite ends. The majority does not believe in that at all, not even close to it. But that's what they're putting there, and then it gets in your head. What other ideas are there? And it's very frustrating for me to be involved in this stuff for 2.5 years. I ran for president. I saw this coming. I saw way before Joe Biden announced his reelection, way before Trump did. And I was lucky enough was easy enough to get on the Nevada ballot in their preferential preference thing that they have there. Only not every state has that, but no signatures required, just a declaration of candidacy. I think it's really cool in Nevada. And I got like 88 votes. They didn't really try, you know what I mean? And then, of course, the media has some certain rules that you have to at least make 15 state ballots for to get any kind of media attention from them. Otherwise, there's something that evolved in their inner circles with spoiler candidates or something, spring candidates, something like that. So, yeah, and it's just getting to the point for me, as a writer, and it's like I'm still going to be blasting the incumbent, even if it's marked as spam. You know what I mean? And it's just really fucking exhausting to have to just to know what's going on, to know where the solutions are and how to compromise and just not even look at them from a party-esque type of mentality, just from what is constitutional, what are the numbers, what are the facts, what are the sources that are credible, who are those skilled in the art? I look at the stuff like patents, through the examination process. I don't know everything. I'm more of an electromechanic kind of guy, the way I look at stuff. And so, it's, you know what I mean? Like there's plenty of people that aren't skilled within all the things, and we listen to the experts. We go to the private sector for that. So, but the way that things are doing now, that's exactly what they're doing, but they're buying them out. Why don't they tell us that? Why don't they say, hey, look, we're having a hard time finding money for the Science and Chips Act. We want to stay competitive with China. And I know we told you that that's working out, but because they can't. Their narrative's all jacked up, and we all see through it. We all see through that. I know there are people. I know I'm not the only one that sees it, and especially where I am, it's unfortunate that you see pictures of the incumbent out there taking advantage of children to campaign for left-esque stuff, who basically just want to have friends to hang out with. That's basically. I've been to some. I went to a caucus that was very informative on how to mitigate drug abuse for children. We want to, in our schools. We want to look at that as drug courts. Offensive. We don't want to criminalize that too much when, these things are medical problems, and things like that. So, um, and Narcan and all these other things, what the schools are doing, that was an informative caucus. But some of these other things that you'll see little groups to go to, they're just hanging out or raising more money to eventually, and the right is doing the exact same thing. And you wonder why stuff is stalemated. You got to get money out of politics. You got to, and yeah, I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean that the PAC groups should go away. You could still donate to them, but there's only so much you could actually give to a candidate. And there's also after a certain election cycle, it's by law the candidates have to give that money back to whatever charitable causes and things like that. So I just think it's crazy. When I saw this, I saw that this had passed, and I was like, okay, well, we already have a child tax credit. Why would we want to? First of all, why do we want to increase that? When again, all the root cause of this goes back to corporate America continuing to get more and more money. And it's very easy to say, well, the right's just going to let that happen because it provides jobs. No, it's going to eventually bring the price of everything up. And especially if you're supporting drill, baby, drill, and all that stuff, you know what I mean? Things are just going to get so much worse. It just is. You know what I mean? It's practically biblical. That's the way you want to look at it. And and then just to see that Marjorie Taylor Greene had voted in favor of this HR 7024, when really, you know what I mean? It looks to me they're never going to acknowledge this. They're never going to admit to it. I know what I mean. It's like I have to. It's like I'm talking to a jury right now, and I have to spray reasonable doubts as to why this really didn't pass. Because, God, it's just I can barely stand it anymore. And from where I sit, the more effort that I put into it, I'm imbalanced. You know what I mean? It's a long shot writing candidate, and I'm getting exhausted with this stuff. But I'm going to keep pushing this. I'm going to do a little video after this live stream tonight, and then just to put it out there, question why you know what I mean? Like the incumbent, he did a town hall here, and I'm sure he used AI because the helper was having problems. It just sounded like AI was doing that, and oh my God. And even then, I'm not with so here in Virginia's 8th district, we have incumbent Don Beyer, and then we have this guy named Jerry Torres who's from Florida. They just gave him, was it $39,000 or whatever, just to have his name on the ballot. He doesn't enter. I don't even think he has a website. You know, I think it was Mike Webb who told me like the people that have money on the right don't even really want to put any money in here because what's the point? But just to get a guy's name on the ballot, and then he has no cash on him. So and if you've seen just how Republicans perform in this area, it's just it shouldn't even be about just the concept that parties have gotten so alienating to me. It's crazy. I mean, if anything, it's the idea if you lean in any one of these parties is to be honest and compromise, just like I'm doing. I'll call up people on the left, whoever it is, if it's Nancy Pelosi, Ro Khanna, or Don Beyer. Those are like my top three on the left. And if you're on the right, it's a little bit different. You have to see what kind of things that they're supporting. I think someone like Matt Gaetz or Marjorie Taylor Greene has stuck. I don't think Matt Gaetz does, and neither does Lauren Boebert have. So anyway, so those are the kinds of things, like where are they getting compromised, the wrong kind of compromise, right? Where are they getting compromised with things like Taiwan or whatever it is? You look at this bill on a screen without doing any homework, and you think, oh, okay, we're going to help, poor children. You know what I mean? For one, what is it like? What was it, an extra $2,000-3,000? I think now it's around 2,000. This would bring it up to 3 or 4, depending on whatever circumstance. That's not going to take children out of poverty. It's going to help, sure, but it's crazy. It's so crazy. Another thing I discovered was with the I saw this from a Senator Warren post. This concept of helping people pay for their college with taxpayer dollars. Some people may, benefit for that, but that keeps getting shut down in the Supreme Court. And think about it like this: from the left, we're more inclined to vote for that. But why would you vote for that when the gap between college degree earners, people with the college degree versus those who don't, has widened since the 90s? It used to be around 15 grand. Now it's like 30, 40 grand. So you're going to use more taxpayer dollars. There are grants out there, Pell grants and things like that. selective service, things like that. But to keep pushing that left IDS stuff to more stalemate from the right doesn't make sense. But why would you want to vote for that? To pay for somebody's college degree to help them pay when eventually they're going to make more money than you. Now I get it. Some of the things with hard sciences, the attorneys that I work for, the intellectual property attorneys, they're the highest paid. They get in order to be an intellectual property attorney, you have to have a college, I'm sorry, a science degree and a law degree. So these people go to school for like 8 years. They know what they want to do. I've worked with many attorneys they have come to the conclusion by the time they're 17, that's what I'm going to do. Maybe somewhere in the middle decide to get an IP. So wow, I get that, and you can maybe hit the ground running with certain things. Chances are, if you don't have a college degree, you've been in the workforce longer. Lots of people are self-taught and things like this, and that's fine. I'm not trying to say that getting a college degree isn't worth it. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying, why have us pay for it? And when that's targeted to the left. So we don't think these things through, and nobody's spinning that. I mean, it's a part of me some days it's like, well, maybe that's why they're not giving me a shot, because I'm making them all look like fools, both left and right. You know what I mean? So it's crazy. It's just it's so wow. And yeah. So going back to names printed on a ballot, I mentioned if you go to the presentation section on my websites, I did a good job of explaining what I discovered. There's just ready available information about what he's been up to and how he's doubled his net worth to 124 million since being a representative of stock trades. His going back to school while still in office. If the collective Congress only has a 30% chance of passing anything, then him going back to school, do the math, even if it's just one class to get a master's degree, was like an hour a day or whatever. But if you do the math on that, 2 semesters a year, minus from the 30% chance of anything, he himself has a 17% chance of resolving anything, even if it has 100% public support. And what's also neat, this data right there, that comes from Represent Us, who got that data from Harvard studies, and it gets better because it starts to all click together when you go to a place like GovTrack is another place you can see where everything. In fact, a Republican introduced, we sponsored it. Some lobbyists bought him. Look at this right here. Prognosis, 34 chance of being enacted. If you've seen that Jennifer Lawrence video from Represent Us, anything, climate change, keeping your abortion rights at the federal level, keeping your guns at the federal level, improving your quality of life, anything the government has any power to solve has a 30% chance of, it's burning me out. It's burning me out. I've done everything I can. Clearly I'm exhausted by this, right? And it's a goddamn shame. It is. And the people are just going to blindly pick whatever name is on that ballot. If there's certainly in this area that Jared Torres doesn't have much chance just for his name. It's what I'm trying to get at with it. And just because someone's name's on the ballot, but then if it's not there, how are you going to know? Now, the other 2 independent candidates, Dave Kennedy and Bentley Hensley, I've been in communication with both of them. If I don't make it, maybe they'll hire me in their office. That's a unique situation to be a writing candidate. Even if I wasn't independent, I'd still be working with these guys. And but even then, I'm not convinced that they know enough about what's going on to solve the priority issues. I've talked to one of them, I'm not going to say who, and when I was mentioning the stuff from Represent Us and the American Anti-Corruption Act, they didn't know, or they didn't have much interest. Now, they both have particular skill sets. So, where I have the IP law background, there's a very simple manual for Congress. It's not complicated. You can see with this had what do? They bypassed a rule. You've seen this before. They just wanted to push something to us, keep things divided, before recess to appease special rules for corporate lobbyists. And then half of their staff and half of the people elected are going to end up being lobbyists themselves. So with that American Anti-Corruption Act, the American, it's a nice package. It's indicative to the claims. That's what I would bring to the table, where intellectual property law title has to be indicative of claims. Otherwise, you don't have a patent. I'm not gonna, if I see something, if I see something like that, I'm gonna make some noise about it. Like, what is this? And I'm gonna call around. And I would use the media too. Like, what is that? Question that. Why aren't you? There's a Washington Post article. The Senate Republicans didn't want to. Well, what about everything else? Right. Nice package there with the American Anti-Corruption Act. Take a look at it. This isn't going after anybody's religion. It's not going after anybody's private sector background or gender or whatever it is, kind of like what Trump's been doing, and then blaming the federal institutions that hold us accountable. That's not what corruption is. And of course, from the right, Don Beyer, I love that both their names are Donald. That and I just want you, at least in your mind, to see that. I don't want them to, go to war. We don't want that. We don't want anything like that. Even then, I've put some, as far as any hashtags would go, or calling out, if the Proud Boys are listening, if anybody from the Proud Boys, before you consider, I did a really cool post. I framed this pretty good on social media, where, let's see if I can, shit. And I don't want to pull on my, it's right there. It's right there. On January 6th, rioters, not everyone at that event was a rioter, but on January 6th, rioters searched for the source of corruption, only to find the same corporate greed that they're appeasing with some of these ideas on the right. And there's a picture of Donald Trump, saying that promise to drain the swamp, staged fake Matthew 21:12 reenactment on J6. And then there's another picture there. Let's be fair, on the right, Don Beyer. He signed this pledge saying that big money makes a mockery of the democratic ideal of one person, one vote. And he's always about big money. The left, we have more money. We do. So you see Trump point his finger, and then us voters and everything putting us in the middle, and it's just, oh my God. Yeah, and then in that little post that I mentioned about on January 6th, the rioters, and then Potomac fever is not just a metaphor which is what Don Beyer calls his condition, Potomac fever. He's always wanted to get into politics. And Potomac fever is not an analogy, not just an analogy of denial or something. I did a much better job in the way that I posted. Plus, my cat here is getting ready to, he's distracted and he likes to jump up here and get my attention by messing with things that he shouldn't. If anybody has a cat, they know what I mean. So yeah, hopefully, we can, I'm gonna just try whatever pace I can to keep going with this thing. But as far as the Proud Boys goes, I mean, they're trying to come back and just look at who you're really looking at here. Really look at, with peaceable protests and peaceable organizations, and then you're being watched. We're all being watched. I'm probably being watched. You know what I mean? For some of the liberal arts that I've gone after with the incumbent and everybody else. But I know that I'm being constitutionally honest. I'm not advocating for anything illegal. So hopefully, we can try to get some real work done. And those independent candidates, Bentley Hensley and Dave Kennedy, can adopt really what you're doing with the Represent Us organization and pushing for getting money out of politics with banning congressional stock trading, which is making some movements. And then also just everything that's in that American Anti-Corruption Act package, just really adopt it. That's it. And you would get the attention of the people. And I've yet to see so much as to how they're going to roll their plans out. Is nowhere near in the same fields, in the same ballpark as what I've done. So I'm out of time. I'm going to go ahead and close this show for tonight, and I hope to see everyone next Sunday at 9 o'clock.